Shalom, brother and sister truth seekers. Wanted to give you an update for sundial data around the world as of the 21st. There were a couple close calls, but I'm thinking at least up to my time zone in West Virginia from that man-made international datelines. It doesn't seem like anyone saw the straight line yet. There were a couple data sets to the west of me, but unfortunately the spread of data did not have enough hours, I think, to be conclusive. But thank you so much, everyone who did make attempts today. I'm just going to go through things. I apologize for yesterday's video. The enemy was really not wanting me to get that out. Because I had something to share to try and encourage people. The creator revealed something about himself to me that I think we all already know about, but it's good to be reminded about how he's there and how he works as we're diligent to press in and seek him and his truths and feel after him. He's not going to leave us. He's gonna meet us halfway, and he's gonna bring us, show us how to keep moving forward. So anyway, I'm gonna fly through really quickly everything that's happened from I think the 19th to today. In the link description below this video, there is a link to the shared Dropbox folder. You click on it, you shouldn't have to join Dropbox. You'll just get into this directory here on an online portal browser. You look for the Luminary. I'm not sure. I think it drops you into the Iron Sharpening Iron. So you look for the Luminary data folder. You look for pictures of Luminary data, and then you get by year. You want 2024. You want the 9th month, and then here are the days, and I think we're gonna pick up on the 19th. And there was a brother. I think he was still seeing. Oh no, pictures are opening on another screen. All right. I think he was still seeing a pre-equinox curve. Definitely windy in South Africa. I believe she was seeing a good pre-equinox curve, so she had a good spread of data. I forgot what she had. 10 plus hours, 10.5 plus hours. So that's excellent, and you can still see a curve there. So no question about that, I don't think. Isle of Right, Angie was also seeing a curve. You zoom in on her straight edge she's got here. There's something going on around midday. We'll see from today's data, because this is still looking quite pronounced, which is surprising to me. And then in Texas, brother submitted this sundial picture, and we're just keeping tabs on this one. I have seen these before. I don't know how accurate they are, but actually I didn't hear from him today. So anyway, I think the theory is it gets to this line and it's the equinox, but it sounded like he was thinking that might happen on the 26th, so I'm not sure. Just interesting. I think they found this sundial or replica like it in Qumran, so just something we're keeping tabs on. 20th. This is where it started getting interesting for me. So Isle of Right, again, I dropped a red line over her data. And when I dropped that red line over, I could still see points lifting off from the line. This looks very good. That does look very convincing. What I would expect to see 1 to 2 days out from the equinox. It's kind of strange. We'll look at her data. What is this? From the this is from the 20th, so yesterday. So the data from today is almost even looking more pronounced than that. So just something to be careful about. I don't know what caused it, but we'll see it here. So here, okay, things started getting interesting for me. I was trying it difficult. Let me show you a picture of sunrise, what I was dealing with. Yeah. So I guess we've had rain, clouds, and this was the first day that I had a chance to do it. And For me, I've got to wait for the sun to poke into my property under the tree foliage. Like, I live in the middle of the woods, but I discovered that the sun does make it through under the leaves early in the morning. But unfortunately, this morning, the 20th, yesterday morning, it was too foggy, and I was not able to get that early morning point. But I was diligent, as diligent as could be, and got some later points a little later in the morning. And this is another point later in the afternoon. I just need a little break in those leaves to get my point. That's all you really need. So don't let the devil make an excuse in your mind that you can't do this if you live in the middle of a city or if you live in the middle of the woods. Like, it can be done. Don't let him talk you out of it. And the more practice we do at this, the better. Like, it's like going to the Bible. Like, we don't stop reading the Bible. Like, the more we read it, I think the more the Creator wants to reveal to us, and the more we are diligent to press in to learn about stuff like this, I think the more He wants to show us better ways and that are going to lead us to Him. And so anyway, I fought with this all day, and it was at the end of the day, and I got clouds. Like, I was waiting for the sun to poke out from behind these trees on the west side of my homestead to get that final point on my board, but it may I don't know, it finally did poke through. But there are more leaves on the tree this fall than there were last fall, and there were clouds, and so this one was like a bust. Didn't get data for this, and it was kind of at that moment I was feeling really bummed, and I stood there kind of thinking and decided I might as well stand here and like just pray and talk to the Creator, see if He has anything to say to me. And as I was standing there, I turned around and I looked up behind me, and I saw this patch of sunlight on the top corner of my homestead. And as I walked closer to it, uh, it was just this perfect spot up here that I had never noticed before. And I think I never noticed it because my barn sits over here. And so, like, when I've been walking around my homestead in the morning and in the evening and at midday looking for some spot on my homestead that gets sunlight during those 3 times a day, I had never noticed this spot because it was behind my barn. But just the way the Creator showed it to me, like he wouldn't have, like, I wouldn't have seen it if I wasn't out here like this. Which way am I going? This was a disappointment, but it had a purpose, and the Creator, and I was pressing in, and this might not have worked, but the Creator used the opportunity while I was standing there. He had me turn around, and I could see this spot, and I used this spot today, and it was perfect. Like, better than anything on my homestead I've ever been able to do before. Like, I'm able to get a point in the morning off that board, a late point, even later than that spot down in the other location. So he had something better, and it was there all along. And I think he was just waiting to show it to me. But I mean, it took me pressing in, like, going through the motions, like, I mean, not going through the motions, but like doing it, practicing, trying to get better, seeking Him. And He's going to help us to see. He's going to fire up our creativity, and He's just going to reveal things. And so I encourage you guys, don't listen to the lies of the enemy. Just get out there and try it. And if things don't look as good as first, I mean, just keep at it and keep trusting the Creator, and He's going to give you creativity, and He's going to show you things like this to help you learn more about Him and His ways. So anyway, that was how that day ended. And another cool thing that happened, oh man, I could tell you. Yeah, I should tell you. So as I was standing there, I just, let me see, what picture was it? This picture. So as I walked up here and I looked over here, and I was like, oh, that's really cool. I need to set up a sundial board there. I turned to the right over here, and there was this door, this white door sitting over. We used to have it for the goats in the barn to lay on. And I've always wanted like a white recording surface for for sundial data because it helps the shadow stand out more, but I've just never had the time to paint my board. So it was just like, oh, this thing is perfect. And like the enemy wanted none of it. Like he just was having a fit as all this started to go down, and he was like kicking and screaming and trying to make trouble for me for the rest of that evening. And so like I grabbed this door and was going to set it up at that spot, and I tossed it over the little fence that separated us, and when I did, there was a rock in the deep grass here, and it put this crack in the door here. And that was kind of like uh, bummer too, because you want your recording surface to be nice and flat. You don't want to have any unlevel bent surfaces. It needs to be a flat surface. So it was just like a stab to try and prevent this from happening, but I was able to use this side of the door and make it work. But things like that kept happening after that this evening, and ultimately it culminated yesterday. Was it yesterday when I made this summary video, and I wanted to try and encourage people to make the most of things and to keep pressing in, and I just had a lot of things to say that I've said in this video, but somehow the audio didn't work the other night when I made the video like it did when I recorded it, but somehow when I uploaded it to YouTube it was gone. So hopefully that doesn't happen tonight, but he really didn't want that message to get out. But I know somebody needed to hear that. So here was Lois in British Columbia, Canada, and this is important to mention. Ball Nomen inconclusive. So unfortunately, I did see some data from Lois, I think on the 6th, but I didn't. It was a close-up shot, and I didn't notice what she was using for a nomen. And unfortunately, what we've learned about ball nomens is it's a no-no, unfortunately. And we saw that, I think this past spring, a gentleman from Australia was using like a much bigger ball. And that picture is, if you dig around, I think it was actually maybe New Guinea or New Zealand. But if you check from this past spring, you can find pictures of what it was. But it was a big ball, and you could tell what was happening with the ball. But essentially, the shadow, the tip of the shadow that is cast down here ends up being it cast off a different surface of a round object like this. So in the morning and the late evening, when the sun is low to the ground, it'll probably be catching the tip of that ball, the top tip. But when the sun is high in the sky at midday, it's going to be casting a shadow probably off the side of the ball. And what that does is the nomen needs to be a sharp tip nomen, like a pencil, like a good old fashioned pencil. A toothpick might be too thin. We just heard from Lois. She tried a toothpick after this. I emailed her, and today she was collecting data. Thank you, Lois. And she tried a new a toothpick, but she was seeing that the toothpick was kind of ghosting out and it was a little too thin. But yeah, toothpick, nail, screw. Really, I think a pencil is the best thing. Because yeah, the light was kind of just wrapping around that thin toothpick. But anyway, yeah, the ball, unfortunately. So I can't really say too much about this data set because of the ball. But she was very diligent, and I thank you so much, sister, for diving in. And I'm sure, like I said, I mean, as you're diving into this, you're learning, we're learning. And you did get some data in today, so we'll look at that as well. Okay, yeah, so going to the 21st, so we heard from Angie, the Isle of Wight, and so this was the one that looks a little, so she's, or I don't know if maybe her brother was helping, a team effort or whatnot, but so this looks like it's on the point there, and this looks like it's on the point here, and then when I look at these midday marks, it's much more gap, which is not what I would expect compared to what was on the previous day. So I don't know if maybe there was trouble with the first point of the day and the last point of the day. I can see the shadow looks pretty faint there, but we definitely want to make sure it's so important to get as early in the morning and as late in the evening as we can, like 10 hours from the first point of the day to the last point of the day. 10 hours is like the minimum we need to try to shoot for, if at all possible. If you can't, just do the best you can, and we'll all work together. But if you can, that's what we need, because it's just going to get really close on the day of the equinox. And if you've only got like 8 hours of data, I've seen where people have 8 hours of data and they end up getting like 3 days around the equinox where it looks like a straight line on all 3 days. And it's really in the morning and the early morning and the late evening when that shadow starts to hook the most. And so if at all possible, we want to get those early morning and late evening points. But I started by saying that because you don't want to sacrifice accuracy just for the desperation of getting those early morning and late evening points. You want to make sure you can see the point very well. And I know tonight, my own data, I really wanted some extra points, just the more the better. But it comes a point where the shadow is too faint, and you just want to make sure it's clear enough so that you're really nailing the tip of that shadow with your point. But I mean, my data agreed with this generally anyway. I don't believe I was seeing the straight line yet. It was very close. We can look at that. Possibly. I don't want to say anything conclusive. I'm presenting this data. You can come in to this folder directory. You can look at the photos for yourself, make your own decisions. If you have any questions specific for the people who collected the data, we can help get you in touch with those people. But yeah, it usually becomes more clear for sure like the day after the equinox. Like when you look at all 3 data sets and you were kind of like, oh, I can't tell if that's straight. Like it's gonna be pretty easy to tell when your data is curved one way and when it's curved the other way, and which day of those 3 it was actually closest to being a straight line. So please definitely continue to collect data tomorrow and the day following. I think are going to be very important. So today was I attempted both of my sundial locations again. The one old one just failed abysmally at the end of the day. I won't be using that spot again, but the door worked well, and that new spot. And so let's just see if I can flip through some of these pictures. So this was sunrise, the sun coming in under the trees. I think I got a picture of it hitting my board for the early morning. Unfortunately, these appear to be out of order. Well, so you can flip through these. But let me try and get to the the conclusion of it all. So I did, near the end of the day, like I had to wait for the sun to poke out from behind the trees on the west side of my property. And like those trees are over here, so I was waiting for the sun to get over here. And when it finally got under these leaves and it was out in the open and I was waiting to get my final points, I was still wrestling with clouds. But thankfully the creator parted those and I was able to get some points at the end of the day. So, I hate that these are out of order. I wonder if I can sort them by date. That would be nice. Let's try that. So, because there's something interesting to learn here. Yeah, okay, so these are in order now. So I'm just going to walk through them, hopefully in order. So that was the first one. They're backwards. Yeah, so here's my morning point. Yeah, that's the old board. The sun just wasn't getting into it. So here's my gnomon that I put close to here, and I was able to get what I needed right in this thin strip. And I did figure out for sure your board, if you're dealing with a thin board like this, you need to make sure it is oriented perfectly due east, perfectly due west. Don't make the mistake of trying to aim your narrow board at the rising or setting sun. Like it won't. You want to make sure your recording surface is perfectly due east and due west, because that line that it cuts is, I checked it tonight, and it's pretty much due east and due west, and so your recording surface needs to also be that way. So the interesting thing, let me see if I can find my overall picture. This is the overall picture. Oh, and I wanted to drop a line on it. I forgot to do that, but I did something else that I wanted to show you guys. So this is my first point of the day, and I've got it time-stamped, and I zoom in on what it is. I give it an A, and it's got a date, and it's got a time. So I got a little over, just about 10 hours of data today, so that's a good data set. And there's point number 1, there's a few points around lunch, midday, and there's my last point of the day. And so what I did, it's so slight. Let me see if I can zoom in on one of these. So there are the close-ups that I take, and then I pull the string and I take a picture. Now note what happens here. I put this string on, and I'm using a very fine string, but I have it going around this pin that I stuck in the spot that the tip of my sundial was. And it makes a slight difference the direction you wrap this string around the pin. And that's why I encourage people, when you submit your data, you need to submit hopefully an overall picture like this, and then a close-up of the first point of the day, the last point of the day, and the middle points of the day, so we can really zoom in and take a look. So that's what I think I do here. Yeah, just zooming in on them. So anyway, this is midday, and you can see these points. There was one more here that I accidentally erased, but these 2 points are A, and they are off the line. Okay, but I had my string wrapped. You can see that this is the part that goes, this is just the extra slack attached to the spool, but this is the part that goes out towards the data set. And you can see it's wrapped around the bottom edge, so it's kind of biased. It's not actually going through the exact point, it's just ever so slightly to the left. And so it kind of helps, it kind of makes it look like these points are just a little bit more off the line. So what I did was I took pictures of it with it strung one way, and then I took pictures of it strung the other way. And what I had planned to do with Photoshop was to actually drop a line and actually thread my line right on that exact point. But just to show you the difference, so you're prepared and think about it, you can see this gap as we go. Now this is wrapped the other way, so it's going around the top, and this one's going around the top, so it's going to be a little closer to those points. So it is a little closer, and you can zoom in on these yourself, but they're still not they're not hitting that line. They are still off the line. So it's very close, but I would say, and then I was checking the orientation of that line. I think I took a picture. Yeah, it was very close. I think potentially that's showing me that things were not yet curved. We're not yet straight. Tomorrow, I think, and the day following will just be more confirmation. This was a sister from Louisiana, I believe. And unfortunately, only 8 hours of data. It can be hard to make a conclusive decision about that. I'm not sure what's going on while the string seems to have a little sag there. But I do see some points that are off the line, which would generally agree with the other data sets we saw today. So yeah, I just hope this is thank you for doing this. Let's all keep on keep on learning, keep on do the best we can here if at all possible. Again, we need to try and get 10 hours of data. I feel bad because I think a year or two ago we were telling everyone, oh, you only need 8, but then as more and more people started doing it, we just started to get more and more data sets. And I mean, I was seeing data sets come in from people with 8 hours that, like, literally the day before, the day of, and the day after, they were seeing straight lines on all 3 of those days. And it was like, we need more data, more hours of data. So this is, again, it looks unfortunately like 7 hours of data, unless I'm seeing something different. So this was what I saw from Lois, and she was using a toothpick for some of this data, and it looks like they're kind of, some of them are off the line, but I can't say anything too conclusive with only 7 hours of data, unfortunately. But again, it's good to get out there and learn. And she got practice, and like, she used the toothpick today, and I think she was learning even with that maybe she doesn't like the toothpick because when you got low light, it just kind of wraps around and almost makes the thing look invisible. So I think that's it for now. Tomorrow's going to be a big day. I hope people will try to get out there. I know the creator wants this is a good thing, and the creator, you'll have some unique experiences, I'm sure. If you do, keep in mind your sundial setup can't move. Your gnomon can't move. Your setup can't be bumped. You need a sharp tip gnomon. You need 10 hours of data at minimum, if at all possible. As early in the morning, as late in the evening as you can. I think those are the main points to consider. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave a comment or email me at avoiceoftruthandlove@gmail.com. You can also send me any of your pictures of your data to that email, or you can join this group on Facebook and you can upload your pictures directly to this group. And that's what I try to do. If I hear from anyone in emails or anything, I try and keep this group updated live so everyone knows what's going on. And yeah, so I guess that's it. Shalom, and may Abba bless you as you continually seek out his truths in love with a pure heart.